Hello there, Ray here, and what I'll be showing today is a new Squid ink farm using the 1.17 Axolotl mob. This farm is simple and easy to build up. It actually provides more ink than my last farm. I'll also be showing how you can use this same farm here to collect all the different types of fish items as well as bone meal. If you're looking for more simple farms, including the new 1.17 stuff, don't forget to check out the playlist linked below. And if I make any more changes to this farm in the future, I'll always link the newest versions in the description. And I would really appreciate if you guys would hit the subscribe button, as I have hundreds of videos about secret tips and tricks that you can do in Minecraft. Let's get right into it. So with the last snapshot, they introduced the Axolotl mob. This is a little critter that isn't very big. It currently doesn't spawn into the game naturally, but it will be added in the caves in Minecraft when they come out. These guys will automatically attack any squid that are near them, and they also attack any variation of fish. So using this, I designed two new types of farms, one for farming up just squid, and the other one for farming up all the different types of fish items, including bone meal. Both farms are actually exactly the same, just located differently. This one is the squid farm. You can see there's really not that much to this entire thing. We got some water in the center. We got some blocks holding it in. We have some little water streams along the edges to move all the items to a chest here. And you can see this thing only produces squid ink. It actually produces more per hour than my simple squid ink and kelp farm that uses a very minimal setup of flying machines and collection area. That farm produced 3,100 ink per hour, and this one actually produces 3,400 per hour. So how would you build this farm up in survival? The first and most important thing you need to do is find a river biome that is kind of isolated when it comes to water. I recommend taking your time and finding a good location. Search through different deserts in your area. And what you're looking for is an area that has a lot of river biome, which is this green grass here. It doesn't have very much actual water blocks in it. So like this location right here isn't so bad. You see quite a bit of green, which means that it is a river biome. And this is perfect because squid can spawn inside of river biomes, but most other fish cannot spawn in here, and dolphins can also not spawn in here. That means the only thing that would be in this area would be squid spawns as well as salmon. But we could also prevent salmon from spawning inside of it, since squid can spawn as far as 128 blocks from the player, but all the other types of fish can only spawn as far as 64 blocks. So using the same kind of cool loophole that I did with my previous ink farm, we can get just squids to spawn. So this location is really good because other water sources are good distance away, one at least like 20 blocks away. That way you don't have to take any time to remove water in the area. So there's like no water really over there. There's really no water around here either, and just a small piece there which we could easily clean up. So this place is awesome. Also want to look for a place that has a decent amount of river. You can either make this farm 16 blocks wide or 8 blocks wide. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to remove this top blocks in this area so that I can get down to the lower areas where the squid spawn, because those mobs only spawn in from Y level 45 up to sea level, which is right here. So the top of the farm is going to be here and everything else is going to be below it. Okay, so with these blocks removed, we're down to kind of the area where we're going to build in the farm. Now most rivers are kind of narrow like this, so it's better to make the farm about 8 blocks wide and 22 blocks long. I want the farm to be kind of over top of the majority of this grass. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'll be how wide it is, and then we'll try to mark out an area that is 22 blocks long. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So that's 22. Let's take off some off of that end and let's move more on this end since we have more green over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll remove 8 from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is roughly where we'll have the farm. Now we'll finish off the walls. This will contain the water, so we're just doing some 8 block long walls on each side. We go ahead and remove any water there is nearby. If you have sponges, you can easily use those to remove bigger pieces of water. So now we're ready to put in the top layer of water. This block that we're looking at right here should be block 62, and this is perfect. Now we can come in with the water, and any water that we put along there should just reach the very edge, and we can go ahead and place water all along here. Make sure they all go the same distance. And this is right where all the items will be washed to. We want the items to wash up against something that's not quite a full block, so some kind of fence or wall. You can come along here and place in that. Now, all you have to do is remove some of the ground underneath of it, and you'll have the large majority of the work done. Now, it is important that you put this water in first before removing the blocks underneath. If you want to, you can go underneath and clear out the bottom here. And then at the very end, remove this top layer so the water's not bothering you when you're cleaning out the lower layer down here. Now, how deep you make it is up to you. I recommend maybe 5 blocks deep. So let me just remove all this using command. Mostly just dirt, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to remove it in survival. And just like that, you have the flowing part of the water, which you still want. And you have this area down here where the squids will spawn in. And we already got some squids to spawn in here. Now, even though you have water in here and the squids are spawning in, the items that come off of these guys are just going to sink to the bottom because this isn't sources, this is flowing water. So to make it sources, you want to put in water sources every other block along this entire side, and then also every other block beside this side. Now, if you did this properly, that means that this items will float up on top of these water sources down here. Even though they look all the same, they are different. You can see this item's also floating on it. Now you just do this to each layer, every other one on this side, as well as this side. And then now the items will float to the next layer. Same thing for this one, and you just keep doing this for each layer, this side and this side. You only need to do 2 sides. And you just do this for each of the layers until you get to the flowing water layer, and you don't mess with that one. You leave that one just as it is. Now you'll see the items can flow all the way up to here, and then they'll make it on top of this pushing water, which will push them over to this side. Now all we have to do is have a place for these items to be picked up. Now you could just put a row of hoppers in here, pick everything up. That's kind of expensive, especially early game. We might not have a lot of iron. So what we're going to do is have these items fall into another water stream, which will then put them into one location. So what we'll have is a block along here. You could actually just not remove this whole wall here of blocks. So I'm actually just going to fill this back in again. And that is because this is a little ledge that'll separate the farm's water from the water which we're going to have over here. That way they're not connecting. This is where the items are going to fall into. It's a little trough that we make along here. And then we just put some water in here and we see where it stops. Wherever it stops, we just dig down a little farther and put in some more water. And more water. And that makes it all the way to this end. And then at this end, this is where you see the items will make it. And this is where you come in with your hopper, and then you can point that hopper into a chest down here. So now all the loot will end up in there, and you can make that however you want. The next thing we need to do is we need to prevent these guys from getting up here on top. We need to build this wall up one higher to prevent squids, but also the axolotl. We don't want them to escape. So now everybody is contained inside of our tank here. The next thing you do is find some axolotls in the caves in your world. Just carry around a water bucket with you, and then when you find one, go ahead and scoop it up, and then transport it over here into this farm, and then you can go ahead and release it. And then these guys will kill the squids. Now, I would recommend going ahead and just picking up 2 of these guys, and then breeding them up. Or if you find a whole bunch, you can just drop a whole bunch in here. Every time you do place one into the farm, make sure to name tag it. And the reason you name tag them is because the squid mob and the axolotl mob are both in the same mob cap. Meaning if there's too many of these guys in your world, it's going to prevent squids from spawning in or dolphins. So if you name tag them, then the game considers them a pet and they don't count towards it anymore. And you can breed them up using some tropical fish. And that way, if you only have a couple axolotls, they can continue making a bunch more. But every time you get a baby, also remember to rename the baby using name tags. There they go. So we just named this baby here. The babies are really fast. Now these guys will go up to 10 blocks away to kill a squid. So it might not hurt if you have kind of a big tank like this to put a few guys in here so that they're kind of spread out. I wouldn't recommend putting over 10 guys, but having like 6 would be plenty. So now that you got your axolotls in the tank, next thing you have to do is make a spot for you to AFK. So for this farm to work, you have to AFK really high up in the air, just like my previous ink farm. But this also means you don't have to worry about having other water sources affecting the farm rates. What you need to do is go to the center of your farm at the very bottom. Make sure you're in the center of everything. Find out what your chords are, which are these things right here. And then what you just want to do is add 128 to this number and keep these other numbers the same. So in this case, I'm sitting at Y level 58, and 128 blocks on top of that puts us way up here in the sky, and already placed in a block. And this is where the player would AFK. So we're sitting here at Y level about 186. And we are in the center of the farm. If you look down, you see I'm pretty much in the center. And from this location, there is a large sphere around the player where mobs like squids can spawn in. But because there's no water in the majority of it, the only water there is right there. That means all the squids in the entire game will try to spawn in that little teeny area down there. And you can see some stuff is happening down there. If I go ahead and turn up my entity distance, we can actually see entities really far away now. If I turn on F3 plus B, you can also see the hitboxes. And if we use a new telescope, we can look way down there. We can actually watch these guys kill the squid. They're pretty efficient at it. Like I said, the more guys you have in them, the faster they kill them. And unlike the Guardians, which take time to shoot lasers out, these guys are constantly attacking, so they kill them a little bit faster. And this is why they're better than my other ink farm, where I have Guardians kill the squids. You can see the squids actually spawn in there pretty fast. Now there is a mob cap on how many squids can spawn into the game. So for the water creature mob cap, which is the same one that squids, dolphins, and axolotls are in, the cap is only 5. So if there is 5 of these mobs in your world, then no more will spawn in. So even though I have a kind of a small location of water, they do quickly still reach the mob cap. We can take a look at this with our F3 over here. Right here where my cursor is, you can see this W with a 5, and this is how many of the water creatures there's currently in the world around the player. It can go above 5, and that was just because a pack of 4 of them spawned in. Now at night, you might have a possibility of a drown spawning inside of your water tank down here, because it is inside of a river biome, and drowns can spawn at any Y level inside of rivers. But you can prevent them by keeping the light above light level 7. It's like some glowstone or shroom lights or jack-o'-lanterns. But it is unlikely for them to spawn in there because there's just so much surface area here for hostile mobs to spawn in. But if one would spawn in there, they could try to chase after the axolotls and damage them. But even then, they would most likely just regenerate, and the drown would most likely also despawn. But I don't think it's really worth putting in anything. So farm is actually really easy to set up and use, and it produces a lot of ink sacs with a very minimal amount of work by the player. If you'd like to see how we design up this farm, make sure to check out our snapshot streams, which are every Wednesday, where we designed up new farms like this on a weekly basis. If you do miss the streams, you can always check out the archives on my Twitch channel. Now, besides making a really nice squid ink farm, you can also use these guys to get all the different types of fish loot, including bone meal. So let's head over there to that farm. So we're here at the farm, and we can check out the loot that we got from it. You get the type of fish which associates with the biome of ocean that you put it in. So for this farm, I put it inside of a lukewarm ocean. So this will provide a lot of tropical fish. You can also get pufferfish and cod, and every fish has a 5% chance that it will drop bone meal. This is kind of nice alternative than having a compost farm. So you can get bone meal without having to craft down bones at all. This could be directly put into another farm, like my infinitely automatic wood farm. If you want to just get cod, you can build it like in a normal ocean. If you want to get just salmon, you can build it in a frozen ocean. If you want to get like salmon and cod, you can build it in like a cold ocean type. So you can kind of really choose what type of loot you can get from it. But the lukewarm biome provides the most variation. Now the only difference with this farm here is that it's up out of the ground. That means we need some blocks to hold in the water. You can use whatever type of blocks you want. I just use glass so you guys can actually see through it. The way you build the farm is exactly the same, except I just put 2 of these side by side. So this water down here is water sources right here flowing that direction. And this one here is water sources here flowing that direction. And I kept these 2 separate. Then I released the very bottom blocks and let the water flow downwards. And just like the other one, I also filled this all in with water sources. So this is more like a double wide one where you can get more surface areas for fish to spawn in. And this is good because in this case, we're just going after the fish type of mob, which are their own separate mob cap. They're considered water ambient, and that mob cap can go up to 20. So it goes much higher than the squid. That means you can have a lot more of these guys in here. Not only fish, but also axolotls. So this one I got 10 axolotls in here. We also built up the sides so they can't escape. And we got the walls here. We also got the flowing water along here to move all the loot into this chest here, as well as this one over here. Like I said earlier, these fish only spawn closer to the player than like the squid. And we can actually use this to our advantage. Because the fish only spawn within 64 blocks of player, we only need to be AFKing 64 blocks above the very center of this farm. So I went ahead and put in a block up here, which a player can stand on, which is 64 blocks. This way the fish can spawn inside of our little aquarium down there, but they're not going to spawn in the rest of the ocean around it. So if they do want to spawn in, the only place they can do it is right there. So once again, we can turn on hitboxes and zoom in. We can see all these axolotls killing off these fish. They are actually pretty efficient at it. Fish have pretty low health, so it doesn't take too much for them to kill them. It looks pretty crazy after a little bit between the items, the fish, and the axolotls. There's a lot of stuff going on down there. Let's hop down and take a look at it. You probably could use some more axolotls if you find that they're unable to keep up with all these fish spawning in. Looks like they're doing a pretty good job. Now with these guys, you don't actually have to name them with a name tag because they are two different mob caps. And currently, axolotls do not despawn. But if you find these guys going missing, just give them a name tag. So how does this fish farm compare to my previous versions of fish mob farms, including this one over here? They both have pros and cons. That one over there has a much simpler collection system, where this one has a bunch of rails picking up all the loot from underneath. This one also takes magma blocks, where that one all you really need is to find some axolotls. Now in this farm here, when the fish spawn in, they spawn up here and then they slowly pathfind into these bubble columns, which take them down and kill them down below. And that is just them doing their natural pathfinding. So there's less entities in this one, where in this one over here, we have the axolotls actually trying to pathfind to each fish, trying to find the best way to get there and kill them, which means it take a little more processing for this to go on. But how does it do for the rates? So I went ahead and tested both of them to see how much items per hour they would produce. So that one over there at sea level will produce 4,600 items per hour, where this one here produces 5,700 items per hour. So this one actually produces quite a bit more. So it's definitely worth building an axolotl fish farm as well as squid farm compared to the older versions, which is really cool to see, because when they add new things into the game, you're not sure if they're going to be better or worse than the current things that we have. And it definitely seems like these guys are useful, not just some cute little guys to have as a pet. Now in this farm here, you don't have to worry about drowns spawning into it, because they only spawn in by level of less than 58 inside of oceans. You don't need to have any light source inside of here. If you made it this far, make sure to leave a like on the video, as well as check out all the other amazing simple farms I've designed over the years with the playlist in the description. And if you guys would like to take a better look at these farms, I have provided the world download as well. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!